What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Bear Show. I'm Ivan Vargas. Before we get started, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps from. Also, make sure you go to another Bear Show on YouTube. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to another Bear Show's YouTube page as well. A big day at Hallis Hall, a big day for the Chicago Bears introduction press conference for their new GM, Ryan Poles, and their new head coach, Matt Eberflus. And to be honest with you, it was something that we're not used to here in Chicago. A press conference that I felt was informative, where I felt both Ryan and Matt. You could see the camaraderie they have together. You could see how well that, like, why it's working and why these two guys are happy. They seem to have hit it off. They seem to have a connection. They have a plan. They were talking about that a little later in their press conference. It seems to me like both these guys, it seems like Ryan has his guy legit. Like, I think you could, just by their interactions and how they were expressing themselves, I think you could put to rest any doubts of it not being Ryan's choice. I think Ryan was 100% on Matt Eberflus. He even admitted such. There, I'm going to play you. I'm not going to play you the whole thing, but I'll play the initial, majority of the initial comments from Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, the abbreviated version of the press conference, just because they give a lot. They really give a lot in what they say. Like, just a little bit of the introduction from Ryan Poles. He told you about who he is and how his philosophy about building this team and what his philosophy is on building this team. He said he wanted to build through the draft. A lot of good things being said. For me right now, and I'm sure a lot of Bears fans are thinking the same, talk is cheap. But the way, like I said, there was something different up at Hallis Hall. There's a breath of fresh air, I feel like, at Hallis Hall. They gave us more than I thought they were going to give us initially. Matt Eberflus looks like he's an enthusiastic, wanting to get after it type of coach. He was talking about flying around and using speed and getting their track shoes on and getting ready to be physical, getting ready to work, pretty much working your ass off as far as defense and offense is concerned. I really enjoyed it. I'll just say that off top, I really enjoyed it. It was it got me excited. Now obviously they have to go ahead and actually execute their game plan. Justin Fields also spoke to the media today, and he seems excited himself. He wants to get after it. All these guys want to work. The biggest take I got from it: hard work, conditioning, speed, nastiness. That's kind of the theme of that press conference, or at least the theme that they want to bring to this team. They want to bring that nastiness back to the Chicago Bears, and it starts by work, hard work, dedication, and commitment. And that's what this team is going to be handed with Matt Eberflus at the helm. Let's go ahead and look at Ryan Poles. This is Ryan Poles from the press conference this morning. This was his initial statement. Well, majority of his initial statement. He was kind of emotional at the beginning, so I kind of cut a little bit out of it. He was more storytelling at the beginning of the press conference. So I really got to the meat and potatoes with Ryan Poles. So here he is, Ryan Poles, Bears' new GM.
What am I about, and what's my philosophy? We're going to build through the draft. We're going to acquire young, fast, and physical football players. We're going to be selective in free agency, and we're going to connect evaluation with valuation. We're going to have a relentless approach to fix our weakness. We're going to maintain great self-awareness of who we are. We're going to solve problems with open communication and candor. And we're going to consistently put players in position to succeed. And the last thing, the most important piece, is we're going to take the North and never give it back. This head coach search started way before 2022. The moment I knew I wanted to be a general manager, I began looking for specific traits that define a successful head coach. And the results were leadership, poise, emotional intelligence, a developmental mindset, discipline, detail, toughness, and energy. Those traits are results of many conversations with Hall of Famers, Super Bowl champions, CEOs, players, and leaders of life. I was also looking for a brother to create an elite partnership with. When Matt walked in the door and interviewed, even without knowing, he just started checking off all the boxes. He described a detailed plan that had depth. He talked about building relationships with players and setting a new standard. And most importantly, he wanted to do all of that with the Chicago Bears. It's a privilege to introduce my new brother and 17th head coach of the Chicago Bears, Matt.
That was Ryan Poles, Bears new GM. Sorry, I was on mute. What you're hearing from him is what I would like to hear, right? You're getting aggressive, being aggressive. Make sure you build through the draft. He talked about looking for a brother when he was looking for his head coach, somebody that he can relate to, somebody that he's going to be pretty much, arm in arm with for the rest of his tenure here. Hopefully, for the rest of his tenure here, that would be amazing. That'd mean consistency and winning was brought to the Chicago Bears thanks to Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus. I hope that continues. I hope they're here for a while. But going back to that, brother, they need to that's what they're on top of the tenacity, on top of the aggression that they want to bring here. They talked about no aisles and crossing the lines and not having people segregated into their own groups and having their own cliques. Because once you get a clique in the locker room, it's not good. You start having cliques in the locker room, things start breaking up. Then that's when you start getting the fractures. Then that's when you start getting the beefs. That's when you start getting all the all the gossip and shit going around, and that can, if you don't have a strong strong locker room leadership, that can break apart the locker room. So he was looking for something like that, looking for somebody who's not going to combat him. He found a guy in Matt Eberflus. He was very convicted about Matt Eberflus. Ryan Poles, to me, and both guys family men. I know they mentioned the last coach was a family man, but I felt like it was more or less just to make you like them. What I mean by these guys being family men, it just seems like they have a like they know who they are, they know what they want to do, and they're going to go hold people accountable and hold themselves accountable in doing so and trying to get the Bears back to prominence. This is Matt Eberflus. We're going to look at Matt Eberflus now. This is his initial comments. A lot of similarities. He sounded similar to Ryan Poles as far as their philosophy and their idea and what they want this football team to be. But Matt Eberflus, like I said, he seems to me like straight up just a true leader. He's going to be the CEO. He said that he wasn't opposed or he wasn't going to be micromanaging or taking over anybody's play calling duties or anything like that. I think that's the best route after seeing what a cluster a shit show that Matt Nagy's offense was, and him trying to micromanage everything and do everything and just kind of overbear, like not overbearing, but just kind of, I don't want anybody else to do this. Like just won't trust anybody. I think there was a lack of trust with Matt Nagy and a lot of his coaching staff. I don't think that's going to be an issue here. I think these guys trust each other. I think they were talking about the coaching hires. I think they're going to, continue to beat that same drum, continue to be consistent as they have been up to this point. And I know it's very, very early, but I like this pairing. I like this pairing so far. Let's see what they could do. But I like their personalities. I like what the coach is preaching, and I like what Ryan Poles is preaching as well. Here's Matt Eberflus with his initial comments.
Okay, this is a special moment. Obviously for Ryan and I and our families. And first of all, I'd like to recognize God for His wisdom and discernment, not only in this moment in the process of this, but really through my entire career. I want to recognize that for sure. Thank you to George. I appreciate you, George. The McCaskey family, Ryan, you're awesome, man. I appreciate you. For being the head football coach and selecting me, to be the head football coach of the Bears. The search team was great. You know, I've been through several interviews, you know, over the last couple years, and this team was top notch in organization, how they did it from A to Z. So I want to recognize, you know, George and Bill, Ted, Tanisha, and Soup. Excellent job with the search team there. Special recognition to my wife, Kelly, 26 years coming up in February, and my two daughters, Grace and Giada, for their love and support. You know, they're awesome. My parents, during my formative years, you know, my father was an electrician, blue-collar guy, and my mother was just a stay-at-home mom that worked with us. And, man, talk about work ethic, the display of that, but doing it with love. So I really carried that on to my coaching career, the work ethic, and then also be able to surround it with love of your fellow man, a love of players, love of fellow staff members, and I think that's an important piece that I learned from them. I, too, want to thank the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Irsay, Chris Ballard, Frank Reich, the players at Indianapolis, the coaches that were there. I do appreciate their support and everything they've done. A special thanks for me for the coaches that were great examples for what makes a master coach. When I was coming up, I was fortunate to get a job at 22 years old at the University of Toledo, okay, for a guy named Gary Pinkel. And he's been special all the way through my career. He's getting into the Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame this year, and what an outstanding example that he had for me at a young age. And I was with him, I think, 17 or 18 years, so unbelievable. And I got a chance to also work with Rod Marinelli. I want to make sure that he honors the relationship between player and coach, and he showed me how to take that to another level. And I'm thankful to him. I got a chance to play for a guy my junior year that showed me how to come into an organization and change the culture and change the mindset of that. And I was living it because I was a player. And I stayed in touch with him, and that's Nick Saban. I really want to appreciate the example that he's given me. And also to my high school football coach, Pat Gacciardo, over in Toledo, Ohio. Unbelievable passion for the game, and I appreciate that. Next, I would like to really have a statement really to the Chicago Bears players and fans. Okay, we will play at a high tempo, a high effort, attacking physical style built upon speed, quickness, and explosive athletic ability. We will carry ourselves with an attitude of energy, passion, and intensity. We will play with maximum effort on every play. And my next piece of advice for the players, for sure, is get your track shoes on because we're running. And then people always ask, say, hey, how do you get a football team to play hard, to play fast, to play physical, to know exactly what they're supposed to do? How do you do that? You know, that's always a question that I get asked, and it's a foundational piece. So what we want to do is build the foundation, okay? In this first year, we want to build this foundation of what we're going to look like, okay, of what Chicago fans, alumni, okay, can be proud of. And the foundational pieces are hustle, effort. We're going to be an effort-based team, okay? That's the number one piece. And we're going to have measurable ways for standards of performance that are going to be detailed. Every single rep, every single practice, every single game. It's going to be an effort-based team. So that's the H part, okay, to our HITS principle, okay? The next thing is the I. The I is intensity. We will play with maximum intensity. That's focus, okay, mental focus and intensity, but also physical focus and intensity. The toughness we're talking about for the Chicago Bears, it's a hitting physical style. Offense, defense, kicking. So that's going to be the second foundational piece. And we'll measure those. We have ways to measure them and be very detailed with those. The next T is taking care of the ball and taking the ball away. It's all about the ball. It's all about the ball. That's the most important thing for winning and losing is taking the ball away and protecting the football. So that's the T. And then the last one is S, okay, is being smart situational players. So smart is really being what? No stupid penalties. Make sure we're squared away with the penalties. Should be in the top 5 every year in penalties. Okay, the next thing is situations. Okay, being great in red zone, third down, 2 minute, okay, backed up, and being smart situational players. So hustle, intensity, taking care of the football, taking it away, and being smart situational players. Those will be the foundational pieces that we can measure, and I'm excited about getting to work with the coaches, okay? Once we get our coaching staff in here and developing that with the coaches, okay, and also developing it with the players.
You guys heard that? That was Matt Eberflus, new Chicago Bears head coach, from the introductory press conference earlier today, and I like to hear it. I like to hear it. High intensity. Get your track shoes. Get your track shoes on. I know there's a question later on in the press conference asking if that message would wear thin, sooner rather than later on some of the players. And to be honest, he said no. He said no because of the players that they're going to be bringing in. If you're not invested in Matt Eberflus's offense, if you're not invested as a player in what they're trying to do here as a football team, I could easily see you being replaced or them trying to find somewhere to move you and bring somebody else who is going to buy in, who is going to commit, who is going to bring their track shoes every single fucking day during practice, during training camp, throughout, OTAs, all that. Bring it every single day. And I guarantee you this team there will be a turnaround, but he's talking about laying foundational pieces. And as of right now, and I know you saw the Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals will be in the Super Bowl. First time since 1988. They'll be taking on the Los Angeles Rams. But you've seen how the Bengals went from pretty much a dumpster fire last year to, well, they're in the Super Bowl this year. I don't think that's going to be the Bears story. I think the Bears are going to, if all goes well, like I mentioned on the show on Friday with the guys from Bears Fans with a Brain, Alan, JB, and Warwick, I said at best I could see a 10-win season, right? At everything has to go smoothly, a 10-win season. At the being, I wouldn't say realistic, but I would say being more reasonable with how the last season has went, how the roster is looking. 6, 7, maybe they gain a game or lose a game from this season. You know what I'm saying? As far as win and loss, I could see them having some struggle. I could really see them having some struggle, especially with all the questions to answer with all the roster spots that are open. You got questions on the offensive line, questions at playmaker for sure. Your defense also has questions, even though I'm a little bit at ease. I'm not at ease, but I'm more relaxed about the defense because I see what Matt Eberflus's mentality is. His defenses have been in the top 10 since he's been in Indianapolis. There were 33 takeaways, second in the league, only to Dallas, and they were second by one to Dallas, one takeaway to Dallas. I could see that if you buy in. Sean mentioned today this could be a positive for a guy like Eddie Jackson. There's bringing Eddie down in the box, I guess, really, I don't know how to say it. It limited Eddie's ability to make a mistake in space. We'll say that. It narrowed down his path, narrowed down the target where he doesn't have to see this big open field and try to make a play. Well, he doesn't really typically make those plays, but he was making tackles at the line of scrimmage. The beef was in space. The beef with Eddie Jackson is making tackles in space when you're one-on-one with a guy. When you have to when you have to put your helmet in his gut, you don't do it. You miss, you whiff. That was the issue. Effort as well with Eddie Jackson. Effort with not all the guys on this defense or on this team, period, but just effort all around as a team. There were times where you could have done more. I feel like effort on both sides of the football. They talk later about the intensity that they want, the hitting, the aggressiveness that they want on both sides of the football, offense and defense. Armando, anyone is better than Nagy. Yeah, well, they were really, really good. They were above and beyond the shit show that we've been accustomed to watching in recent years. But that idea of hit, the hits idea, right? That concept, I could like. I don't necessarily need you going ahead and bringing it up every fucking press conference. You know what I mean? I don't need to know the whys. And there was a moment where my heart sank when he mentioned the whys. I was just like, no, don't do that shit. Don't bring that back up. Do not start that shit again. But he kind of worked himself around it. It wasn't a Matt Nagy why. Pretty much he said what the why is, it leads to winning. Like you have to win. Like at the end result for these guys, from what I got, from what they've been talking about, is winning. Physical, tough football, winning. That's what I like to hear. I don't need the bulletin board material where we're gonna take the North and never give it back. Okay, Lovey, we're gonna beat the Packers, like that or whatever. Cool. That's nice. Execute. Execute. Bears fans have gotten lip service for way too long. I don't need the rah rah shit. Just execute. I think these guys are gonna do it. I think these guys have the right mentality. Ryan Poles got a little bit. It seemed like he got a little emotional at early in the press conference when he was initially addressing the media. You could tell this is a major moment for both of these guys, but it seems like they're embracing it. It seems like they're thriving in it, right? A lot of guys could crumble under pressure. Like shit. Look at Adam Gase. Adam Gase looked like he was coked out, eyes wide open, freaking everybody out in New York. Guys, it's you could tell that they care. You could tell that they actually give a damn. You could tell that they really, Matt Eberflus in particular, really invests in his players. They had these guys talking about Ryan Poles talking about I found a brother. These guys are. It seems I know we're on the outside looking in. This is just a brand new marriage, but it seems to me like it's authentic. It seems to me that Ryan Poles is authentic. It seems to me that Matt Eberflus is authentic. Remember, we could smell that Matt Nagy bullshit rather quickly when he first got hired. After that initial season, when things started going, sideways, Matt Nagy exposed himself rather quickly. I don't see any disingenuine statement. I don't see any type of, ulterior motive between these guys. They're about winning and getting this team back to prominence. Talked about the draft. Not going to have very many draft picks this season, but stick to what you were preaching. Physical, tough, gonna be flying around type of football. Okay, well, got some issues on defense, got some issues on offense. You know how I go. You draft the offensive lineman, or you go and sign one. But let's keep it with the draft. You draft an offensive lineman, and then you work on some of the other spots on defense, some of the other spots on offense. It's gonna be a two-front attack on free agency and on the draft. It's got to be both. Like this can't be a year where they say the hell with getting landing some free agents, or they do a little bit, they do the minimum, and they hope they could get a practice squad guy up, or they could develop somebody. Which, I mean, this is a new regime, so maybe things will change. But developing people, that was a stretch with the last crew. That was a stretch with the last crew. But I like these guys. Like I said, looking at him and looking at the offense, like I said, Justin Fields seems to like him. He was excited to get after it. Physicality at the point of attack. That's what I want. That's what I want as far as the draft. That's what I want in free agency. You find you an offensive lineman, you find you a defensive lineman. Maybe you find a defense. I mean, you got Tonga, you got Bilal. Bilal was not a disappointment. He's just not the guy that I thought he was going to be, wreaking havoc in the middle. Eddie Goldman, disappointment. Even though I don't know what I don't know if Eddie wants to play football like that. That was a thing We didn't know if Eddie wanted to play football or not at a certain point. And it's his decision. It was his decision ultimately. He ultimately came back to the team. But even still, I'm like, man, Eddie, is it the rust or do you not want to be here? Is Eddie a guy that wasn't fully invested and pretty much just playing for his contract, just playing it through and see what happens after? I don't know. A lot of things to talk about in upcoming weeks. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up. That like I said, the press conference, guys, go ahead and check that out. It's on the Bears YouTube page. Yeah, I like what I hear. I just need to see it executed. I can't, fully give you my blessing or my full backing, my complete 100% backing. I just need to see what the plan is. Like, just let me get through the draft. By the end of the draft, if I don't like it, then maybe we got some problems. But if he surprises me in this draft, right, with the little picks that they do have, if Ryan Poles could pull something off where he finds one or two players, let's say that could first of all immediately compete, but second of all immediately get into action. If he could do something like that, awesome, because we are sorely lacking with draft picks. And then if he goes around and could find some guys, maybe you could find a playmaker in free agency, somebody who's a little more established, instead of hoping and praying that you get a guy in the second round or the third round, that slipped or was a diamond in the rough or something like that. For me, with a playmaker, I would want a more veteran type of guy. You get young on the offensive line. You bring in more, create competition, get these guys battling, man. It's listen to what Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles are preaching: intensity, speed, hitting your ass. Football. It sounded like football. It really did. It sounded like football. So, I'm excited. I hope you guys are a little bit excited. Like I said, I'm not going to go ahead and give him my full 100% blessing, but I really am impressed with Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus. I wish them the best. For our Bears' sake, I wish them the best, man. I really do. I hope these guys are the two guys that could get it right and really fix things here in Chicago. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. It's been a great Monday. A little cold. Living with this hangover for however long it lasts. But I made it through this one. Got What's Up Cuz coming up at 6 to 8 o'clock. What's Up Cuz? We got Ozzie Guillen Jr. on, talking some baseball. Should be a great show. Guys, I'm Ivan Vargas. Like, share, and subscribe. Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps from. And make sure, please, 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 go to YouTube, search Another Bear Show, and press the like button. Like, share, and subscribe to Another Bear Show on YouTube. It was a interesting press conference. It was fun. It was refreshing. You got to hear football. Like I said, it sounded like football to me. Let's see how they go ahead and execute. All right, guys. Peace.